So there are some very practical ways that I think Susan's group has helped. So I have twins, again, if I didn't mention that already, they're boy, girl, 8.5. So I'm a physician. I'm actually a practicing OBGYN. I've been practicing for 17 years as an obstetrician gynecologist. And I think what happens when you go to medical school is that they treat the body as a machine, a biomedical Western machine. And somehow, you combine that with like my past childhood trauma, and I saw everything one dimensionally. And then I had children and they're not one dimensional, but I was treating them as if we were void of any spirit, that they were just these little machines that they could just do stuff. I mean, and that's just on one level. And that's when things kind of just started breaking down for me. I was like, I had twins, and I was listening to these webinars about, how to be the captain and attachment and not to be the lawyer. And I hardly ever went into dictator mode, but I didn't realize how much I was in this lawyer mode, and I could actually trick my brain and not realize that I was in lawyer mode and I wasn't actually being the captain of the ship. It took me a really long time to understand the concept of the captain, the lawyer, and the dictator. Over time, I just really unraveled that that I had not faced this childhood trauma that happened to me. And it is on one of those ACE scores, adverse childhood events score. And but I think my ego had buried it, and so that I could function and so that I could make it through medical school and a really grueling residency before there was ever work hour restrictions for residents. And so, like, for me, like, that's what I needed to do to survive. And then I became an extremely successful physician. Like, anything that I set my mind to do, I would do it. I had a nonprofit, and I was going to Tanzania and Jamaica, and I was doing surgeries on women there and doing all this great stuff. And then when I settled down in Oakland, I became chief of my service. And honestly, and that was when I had achieved that right before I had my twins. And then, so at that point I was like, this is where I wanted to be in my career. Then I had the twins, and like, it all started to unravel, and I couldn't keep up the facade anymore of juggling this career and being a mom and cooking dinner and managing a household. And and I did it for a while. I think until the twins were about 3 or 4, it looked like I was doing a really good job on the surface, but deep down, like, there was this huge mess, like a hot mess. And it was really interesting because I would walk into the room, like, my kids would be totally calm, and then I'd walk into the room and they would start acting crazy. And my husband would always notice, what is why is it that the kids are always like chaotic when they're around you? And then of course I like took that as a bit of an insult, and so I would just get all defensive, and I say, what are you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. Like, the initial step was for me to do the work and start resolving my childhood trauma. And then after that, and try to be as fully present as possible and really start really becoming the captain of the ship. So that's kind of what I've been doing. And it wasn't until earlier this year that I really felt like I really started getting a handling on parenting. And it's still a journey, and I still have days where I feel like I just totally failed. But then yesterday, my son, he just cleaned up his room spontaneously. I didn't even have to ask. I couldn't believe it, and I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And then, like, this morning, so we have this, I'm going to just tell a funny story. Well, he likes the smell of coffee. So, and they're actually going to school. So I started putting like his mask in in a bag of coffee beans so he could smell that. So when he puts it on in the morning, it smells like coffee. And then he kind of ran into his sister this morning, and the coffee beans spilled, and it wasn't anybody's fault. And they both got really upset, and just like, I didn't do it, you dropped on it. And I didn't even react about it. I just kind of just took a deep breath, and I didn't say anything. And I was just like, let's just go to school. It's nobody's fault. Don't worry about it. The next thing you know, he's cleaning up the coffee beans and putting them into one pile on the floor. And I was just like, wow, I can't believe this just happened. It was just, I was like, I haven't done anything, but actually I have, because I've been doing this work for like a long time.